Variety is the spice of life. At least, hopefully, it's the spice of video games. Our game is fun, it has all the core pieces it needs, but I want to animate or randomize the obstacles in our game. So when the next level loads, it's a different setup. It changes, it becomes its own fancy level. And that makes it feel like something that really would be played by the big guy. Okay, well, maybe not the big guys, but it makes it feel like a genuine perfect, fun game. So let's do this last step, make it a bit more challenging. And yeah, like before, what's going to be happening is you're looking at what we're making behind me. All of the assets are in the description, and let's get coding. So obviously our game is awesome, but there is actually something I want to add. I'd really like it if our levels were randomized, right? So if we had the ability to, every time the player restarts, that it's a random new setup of a level. And this can get a bit tricky, so fair warning, but it's totally worth it. And it won't take super long. We do need to add a few things. First of all, we're going to need I could also go up here, by the way, and do create. I'm going to create an empty, and I'm going to name this game manager. Okay. And it's just, like I said, going to be an empty. I could reset the transform if I desire. And I'm going to add a component, and it's going to be called, shockingly, game manager. Except this is going to be a script and create. Let's go here to assets, drag it in. And look, it even gets this cool icon because it's the game manager script. And let's tidy this up a bit. Where are all... Let's take, so let's do a material one. It's just good to keep this organized. And then let's do game, let's just call it objects. Okay, so I'll drag our player into objects. And now we just want to drag our materials into, shockingly, material. All right, that is all set. Let's go ahead and make sure we got this script opened up. And perfect. So we're going to need a few things at the top. We're first going to make an obstacle prefab. So let me get that coded in. Because we're going to do what it's called instantiate. We're going to create these borders to the maze live as the game runs. So we need a prefab for that. And now we're going to use a list to keep track of those prefabs because we're going to destroy them if we need to load a new level, we'll create new objects. New list game object is what we need here, okay? And we will use start. We're not going to need update. To give you an idea of what we're doing, I'm going to go ahead and save all that. Let's take a look at what we'll need. So I want to leave these walls, this wall, this wall, this wall, this wall. Nope, that one I don't need. So that one's internal. Let's just use this. This I won't be needing. Wall 4 is going to be bye. Now, wall 5 also don't need. Although, we'll keep this for now, actually, because we could use this as our obstacle prefab. Perfect. Let's see what this is. This little one I'm also going to get rid of. Okay. And just to make life easier. There we are. Now, for our obstacle prefab, I was thinking about a scale of 12, and that's because we're going to have 2 of these spawn on each line. So what X am I at right now? Negative 6.5. I want to have 3 rows of these, though. So our whole grid, our whole area is 40. And if we want to divide that up roughly evenly, right, we would need each of these be at about a Z of negative 12 will do. So 12 and 12. We could even do a bit bigger if we want to just make sure it fills in the gaps. So 13 and negative 12 is where we will want the starting point to be. And then we're also going to have a layer of wall at 0 for Z. So watch where that is. And then another one at positive 12. So there's 3 options for where this wall would be located. And each time we'll spawn 2 of those options. Okay, so that's for Z. Now for X going across, which is what I was starting with, we're going to want similar idea here, negative 10 though. So we'll have to size down our exit, which I guess we could do now. Good as time as any. There we are. we're going to want -10 for x, 10, or 0. Okay. And so it will be any of those. Now, we have our prefab here. Let's make sure we got I'm going to go ahead and put a rigid body on it. And for the rigid body, we just want it to be kinetic. It's just going to stay put. And this is all great. And so obviously what we'll want on this is the obstacle script that we have, and it's there. Look, we're prepared. Okay. So we have our prefab set up. Our game manager is getting set up now. Perfect. All right, let's keep going then. Obstacle, what did I forget here? Just some parentheses. There we are, of course. Always. All right. And now let's create our next function. And what this will be is a next level. So it's going to generate the next stage when they get to the end. And I am making a public void because we're going to have our, this can be called by the player when they hit the end. First and foremost, if we do already have some obstacles made from the previous level, we need to get rid of them, right? So if there's already some obstacles, we want to delete them before we generate some. So I'm going to do for each game object obstacle in current, and this is our list. So if there's nothing in this list, this for loop won't even run. But if there is something, it's going to name that something, each one of them obstacle, and do what I say. And what I say is, hey, kill them. So it's like saying almost. I could say pony, and every item in the current obstacle list is named obstacle or pony and then destroyed. Now that we have made sure to destroy anything that was already there, we need 2 floating point arrays. For X locations and Y's, there's the one I already went over. I'll get them in and talk about it. All right, there we are. So remember -10, 0, 10, and then 12, -12, 0, and 12 for the locations like I demonstrated. Now we're going to want a for loop because we're going to need 6 walls, right? 2 for each location. So for the for the Z locations, we're going to want 1 here and 1 here, or here and here. 2 for each location. And only doing 2, make sure we have a pathway through for the player. So we're going to want a for loop, and it will be limited to 3 because we'll generate 2 eyes in each spot, 2 walls in each spot. And we do need an integer above this that we're just going to use for tracking what's full. Okay, what spot doesn't have a wall each loop? All right, now our for loop. What do we want to do? We want to do a few things. First, we're going to check if this is the first time this is running, because we need to randomly generate the spot we want our walls to be. Okay, this is a bit tricky. Let me show you. Okay, what is this doing? So this is a fancy if statement. I should first seed my, I should first seed my random range though. So I'm going to go up here and to seed this, which just means to get it going to make sure it's random. We're going to use the time. Make sure you have int here though, because this would come back as a float and we need it to be cast as an int. Great. And that looks good. So that's going to seed our random. Now what's happening here? This is a shorthand way, and maybe for a tutorial I should do it this way. I'm asking if blank index is greater than -1, what do I want to have happen? Well, I would want else, and I'm actually just going to copy this, Control C. This is what I'm actually saying. This and this is identical. This is a shorthand way of doing it. What I'm saying is if the index is greater than -1, because we're about to set the index down here and you'll see what I mean. So if we already have a wall built, then we want to make sure that the first index is in a spot that doesn't make a passageway, right? We don't want a hole through the whole level all on the same axis. I'll show you what I mean. It becomes super clear when we get a bit further down in the code. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'll leave it the simplified way. So now what am I doing? I'm taking index 2 and I'm just using random to create this index. So this is going to be random no matter what, but we want to make sure these are different because if it's at index 1 here, they would both be at the exact same location. You would only have one wall. So I want to make sure these two indexes are different. And how I do that is while they are equal to each other, I'm going to keep asking it to get a random number. Okay, and we get a random number from 0 to the length of this array, which is 3, right? And so this doesn't include 3, it would be 0, 1, and 2, random range will. And it's just going to keep doing that until we have something different. So that will work out perfectly. Now we're going to create the vectors because to change the location of something, you want to have a vector to assign it. All right, what did I just do? Well, hey, this first location, make a new vector. X location's I. Why I? Well, because we want X to be one of these, right? -10, 0, or 10, and we want to put them across the board. So we need those each to be used, and that's why we're looping through 3. Now, the Z index we use is going to be that random thing we created, or the last blank area, making sure that gets blocked off. Now, we want to save this new location, this new item, into our list, our current obstacles list, and we also need to spawn it. So what I'll do is so this looks complicated. What is it doing? We're adding to our list the object we're making here. Right here is where we're actually making it. We're instantiating a obstacle prefab, right? We're instantiating a prefab. And then we're going to do it at what location? This location that we just made. And this is just the X, Y, and Z of the rotation, right? And then another version, a simplified version. These numbers work too, not 900. There we are. All right, and so that will make our first object, but we don't want just one, we want two. So now I'm going to use location again and assign it to a new vector 3. And there we are, we got our new vector 3, and the only difference here is z index 2. We changed that up. And we're keeping it in the same x location because we need 2 in that location. And now, basically, this, so much so I'm just going to go copy, paste. Because by basically this, I mean it is that, right? We're spawning a new prefab, and we're going to slap that into our prefab list. Now, in order to make the colors look the best, sometimes you get a little overlap and it gets wonky for colors. So this isn't like super necessary, but what I did is I shrank the one down by like 0.001. I'll show you. So, wow, this looks real long. What is it doing? I am grabbing the current obstacle. I guess I could have done it through the prefab, but that's fine. I'm grabbing the most recent obstacle. I'm transforming local scale, and all I'm doing is adding negative. So I'm just shrinking it down just a bit. And that really does help with colors. Now, at this point, we're going to use blank index. So I'm going to get this whole if statement in here and walk through it. So what's happening here? I'm testing if blank index is equal, so I set it equal to 0, and then I check, okay, is index 1 0? Is index 2 0? If so, well then let's set blank index to 1, okay? If it's set to 1, what do I want to do? Well, now let's check to make sure that neither of these are set to 1. So if index 1 is set to 1 or index 2 is set to 1, go ahead and set blank index to 3, because that means that's the area with no wall in it. The reason I'm doing this, again, is we're going to loop back around now, zoop, and first thing I do here is index 1. If blank index is no longer the -1, well, I want to make sure that we don't have 2 openings in a row because it makes the level really easy. So I want to use whatever blank index is for the Z location. So there's not just a hole of doors that you just walk right through the level. That is what we're preventing there. All right, let's go to the top here. We're going to want to run next level right here. I'm going to copy, Control V, Control C. Let me save all this and let's take a look. All right, let's go ahead and test. I'm going to go zoop and zoop. And let's make sure we got our game manager. And there we are. We needed an obstacle prefab. I'm also going to grab this and delete it. We don't need it on, oh, have we made it a prefab? Holy smokes. Okay, let me go into objects and obstacle prefab. It's now a prefab. Now let me delete it. Let me go back to game manager and that would make sense. There we are. And let's make sure that looks good. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out. Now what I want to know is, try again. Okay, this looks good, but let's see. Boom. And you see how we have this area that we have this area that's automatically formed for us. Let's give it a try. Whoa, oh, oh. And we can do things. Oh, and I respawned. Woo! Notice the wall changed colors though? Oh my gosh, I'm not good. Go, go, boom. And it's not going to change each time, so that's what we're going to add now. Okay, so let's make sure for the player, now we're going to have the player call this when we respawn. To do that, let's have up here game manager. And we're going to say game manager because I want the script, not the object. And I'm going to do save. And with that set, I also want the other keys, W, S, D, and A. It's just a nice little perk. So I'm going to do a copy here, Command C, or Control C actually is what I do, but paste. Let me do this real quick. And that way we can use either or. Now let's get to the game manager on our player. Go back over here. We got all that. We got all that. Yep. And let's go down here then. And so on this event, when we collide with exit, we want everything to change. So after the player respawns, let's go ahead and do next level. And we're going to change all of this, new color. Actually, I might then do this way down here. There. And then if we collide with an obstacle, player respawns, we might change the color of the floor when we hit something. I want to do that instead, actually. So yes, we're going to take this here, the ground color, and I'm going to do that upon hitting an object. We could do it both, but, you know, I like that. All right, boom. Let's test all this out. Whoa! No. Oh my gosh, that was so close. Come on. Go! Yeah. Nope. You see it change there? Eh? Oh, he didn't respawn. I should enable that. Ah! This is awesome. And now we have a randomized level. So unpredictable. It's kind of addicting. All right, so that's enough. What we need, I want to make sure that all of my walls are actually labeled obstacle. That one is this? Ah, boom. Okay, and then for the ground, I like that it changes colors. I don't want it to be the same as the border. So what I'm going to do with that is ground color options. It's going to be black. Gray, and white. Just simple colors. The sides will be fun. And then we just want to make sure down here it's no longer a size of 4. And actually, just to be safe, it's easier to do something like this, options.length. And that way it will always adjust to how many colors we have. And then for the actual blockers themselves, let's add some cyan. And there we are. Ooh, and I almost forgot, down here, we want to do the same thing. We don't want that to be 4. No, it would need to be 5. But anyways, let's just do it like this. That way we'll always have the right length for the array. So let's make sure to save all that. And there we are. Let's get going. All right, so let's test this out. We have everything ready to rock at this point. I'm going to go ahead then and make sure you add to, I'm going to export this, right? So let's play it like it's a real game, because guess what it is? I'm going to go into build settings here, and we're going to first make sure to add our scene. So, yep, sample scene is what I got. Build and run. Nope, add open scenes. There we are. Build and run is what I want. Now, you cannot put this in the same folder as your current project. So if I put it in that folder, it wouldn't work. I'm going to put it in my general Unity folder. Block, go. Beta 1. Oh, right, folder. Ooh. Get this out of the way. Oh. Oh. What? Oh my gosh, I'm so bad. It's kind of hard. Forward. Yeah. No. Ooh. This is not working well for me. Going well for me. Oh well. Awesome. We'll pretend that was a complete success. I need to get a bit better at this game. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you have an awesome game that you should tell me about in the comments. As always, make sure you hit subscribe. All of the assets are in the description. Oh my gosh, I'm going to make it. Are in the description. So use them, abuse them, make awesome things, and have a ton of fun. I really, really need to practice.